record time and time again, exposing everything. And that's exactly what she did in a recent interview that took place yesterday. I want to play y'all this. And then after we listen to this and watch this, I'm going to take y'all to Christine Brennan's X account. Now let's roll this and let's watch it and listen.
Do you believe that Cathy Engelbert should be replaced as the commissioner of the WNBA?
I do.
There it is. USA Today's Christine Brennan just said on the record what most people have been thinking for months, but nobody with her level of access has been willing to say out loud. The commissioner of the WNBA should be replaced. And she didn't hedge it, didn't say maybe or perhaps. She said yes directly. So the question isn't whether Brennan is right. The question is why it took this long for someone in mainstream sports media to finally say it, and what happens now that it's been said.
Well, I will not even editorialize. I will say the facts. The number of times that Cathy Engelbert has been asked by journalists, John Wertheim with 60 Minutes as an example, asked about Caitlin Clark, and then her answer is, well, Caitlin and Angel. And John Wertheim, to his great credit, wonderful friend and obviously great colleague, says, no, I didn't ask you about Angel. I only asked you about Caitlin. And then in her the WNBA playoffs I covered in the finals in 2024 went on and on about all the things that had happened that year: record-breaking attendance, TV viewership, moving to bigger arenas, all because of one person,
Caitlin Clark, baby.
That I think was close to 20 minutes, 18, 19 minutes. Cathy Engelbert never said the words Caitlin Clark.
According to Christine Brennan, the evidence has been there all along. WNBA Commissioner Cathy Engelbert has been asked direct questions about Caitlin Clark numerous times, including during a nationally televised 60 Minutes interview. Yet Brennan says the response is often the same. Instead of focusing on Clark, the conversation shifts toward Angel Reese, other rookies, or broader league storylines. In one memorable exchange, the interviewer reportedly had to interrupt and clarify, saying, "I didn't ask about Angel. I asked about Caitlin." Brennan argues that wasn't a simple mistake, but part of a recurring pattern. She also pointed to the WNBA Finals press conference, where league officials celebrated a season of record-breaking attendance, soaring television ratings, and unprecedented demand. Arenas expanded capacity, games attracted larger audiences, and interest in the league reached new heights. Much of that momentum was tied to Caitlin Clark, the #1 overall pick and Rookie of the Year, who helped bring millions of new fans to women's basketball. Yet despite speaking for nearly 20 minutes about the league's success,
So something's going on and leadership is needed. And when you have a void like this, the void is filled with anger and aggression, and you get things like that picture that's going to last forever of Alyssa Thomas's fist on the throat of Caitlin Clark, the woman who's responsible for the charter flights and more money, at least in some ways, with the collective bargaining agreement that Alyssa Thomas is getting. So that fist to the throat, and also kneeing her groin beforehand, and then the very weak penalty. That's the other thing. Slap on the wrist, $1,000 fine for a woman, Alyssa Thomas, making $1.2 million this year, obviously because of the increase in interest and the salaries, in part because of large part because of Caitlin Clark, and also just a one-game suspension when it should have been, I think, at least.
And here's where it gets worse. Brennan connects the leadership void directly to what happened on the court. When there's no clear authority, when the commissioner won't protect the league's most valuable asset, that void gets filled with aggression, and you get moments like the Alyssa Thomas incident. A fist to Caitlin Clark's throat. On camera. A player making $1.2 million this year, in large part because of the new media deal and charter flights that came with Caitlin Clark's arrival, physically attacking the person responsible for those benefits. The penalty: a $1,000 fine and a one-game suspension for a player making over $1 million. Brennan said it should have been at least 10 games. And she's right, because the message that punishment sent to the rest of the league was clear. You can do whatever you want to Caitlin Clark, and the consequences will be a joke.
On Caitlin Clark's side, the entire time, besides content creators in the big media, is USA Today reporter Christine Brennan. Christine Brennan wrote an exceptional, great book when Caitlin Clark first arrived in the WNBA, talked about the rise and how basically we got here. Now, I've been following Caitlin Clark and reporting on the young lady since she was in college back at Iowa. So if it's anybody that knows the journey she has took to get to where she's at, it's definitely me, man. I'd have been to Carver. Now I'd have been to Indy a few times. And one thing I can say is never a dull moment to see Caitlin Clark hitting logo threes or when her name get called. Number 22 out of Iowa, from Desmond, Iowa, Caitlin Clark, and the arena just erupts. It just sends chills up your spine. Highly recommend you guys to go check it out for yourself and see what the hell.
So let's go back to the beginning. Who is Christine Brennan, and why does her opinion carry this much weight? She's not a content creator. She's not some talking head trying to get clicks. She's a USA Today reporter who literally wrote the book on Caitlin Clark's rise. She covered Clark at Iowa, followed her to the WNBA, and has been on the front lines of this story since before most people knew who Caitlin Clark was. When Brennan talks about the WNBA's dysfunction, she's not guessing. She's reporting from inside the room. And the fact that she's willing to go on record and say the commissioner should be replaced tells you how bad things have gotten behind the scenes. Because reporters like Brennan don't burn sources lightly. They don't call for people to lose their job.
Now, ever since Caitlin Clark arrived to this league, there has been troubles and setbacks that really, to me, a lot of it has not been on her. There's been a lot of assaults taking place on the basketball court. It's been a whole lot of sabotaging, not only by her head coach, but definitely by the league itself. Hell, they dropped the WNBA 30-year poster and left the Michael Jordan of the league off the poster. Many people can say what they want. Maya Moore posted up a picture of her with all her rings on. No disrespect to her. She kind of emulated the Jordan photo, but it didn't hit the same to me. You know, I believe Maya Moore is Caitlin Clark's favorite basketball player, if I'm not mistaken, on the women's side. But when it comes to her herself, she's the closest thing since Jordan. If you want to talk about the injuries, you want to talk about the impact of the game, without Caitlin Clark, none of us will be watching the WNBA. It's just that simple. No disrespect to any other players that came before her, but as of right now, we cannot take away the greatness that she has brought to the game of women's basketball. But just like I stated, it came with some loopholes, and the loopholes are being exposed each and every day by me, many other content creators, but the biggest person that has been on the front line with exposing everything that has been taking place in the WNBA is none other than USA Today reporter.
Here's what a lot of people outside the WNBA don't understand. The league has been struggling for decades. Low attendance, minimal TV deals, players flying commercial, sometimes on red-eye flights between games. The financial situation was so difficult that the NBA had been subsidizing WNBA operations for years just to keep the league alive. And then Caitlin Clark showed up. Suddenly, arenas that averaged 3,000 fans were selling out with crowds of 17,000. Games that once aired on little-known streaming platforms were drawing national television audiences of more than 2 million viewers. Merchandise sales exploded. Ticket prices tripled on the secondary market. The entire economic model of the league changed in one season. Not gradually. Not over time. In 6 months. And according to critics, the person running the league responded by refusing to say her name, by allowing other players to physically target her on the court with minimal consequences, and by promoting rivalry and drama.
Go check it out. I reported on it years ago on the channel. Now, something else that she said that stuck out. Without Caitlin Clark, y'all don't get charter flights. Y'all don't get these big old media deals, right? Ain't it crazy? Y'all get the new media right deal right when Caitlin Clark get here. This is what we need to discuss. The disrespect with Caitlin Clark is at an all-time high. And I want to touch on this. We have to touch on this. Last year, when it was in CBA negotiation, there was many reports that I was receiving that part of the agreement for signing the new CBA was for them to get a new commissioner. That's what I was hearing verbatim. simply because of the Nafisa Collier exit interview. Now, fast forward, it took months.
Now, here's something that didn't make it into Brennan's interview, but needs to be said. During last year's CBA negotiations, there were reports that part of the players' demands was getting a new commissioner. Multiple sources were saying that the players wanted Engelbert out as part of the deal. The negotiations dragged on for months. Training camp started late. The draft was delayed. And then Adam Silver, the NBA commissioner, stepped in. He gave a press conference where he essentially announced that Cathy Engelbert was staying. The players got their charter flights, their increased salaries, and their better revenue split, but they didn't get a new commissioner. And here's the question nobody has answered. What did Adam Silver promise or threaten to make that happen? Because the players clearly wanted her gone. The evidence was mounting that she was incapable of managing the league's explosive growth, and yet she's still there.
For them to get the CBA done. Hence why the season started. Well, I believe the season started on time, but we had late training camp and I believe a late draft. Adam Silver had to step in. Adam Silver gave a press conference, pretty much state to the world that they're keeping Cathy. Whatever the case is, Cathy Engelbert, from my knowledge, was not supposed to be returning as the commissioner. And just like Christine Brennan just said, she's incapable of running a women's basketball league, let alone any league for that matter. Cathy Engelbert is a businesswoman, CEO of Fortune 500 companies. What the hell she got doing running a basketball?
Let's be clear about Cathy Engelbert's background because it matters. She was the CEO of Deloitte. She ran a consulting firm with 4,500 employees. That's an impressive resume in the business world. But running a sports league is not the same as running a consulting firm. Sports require an understanding of narrative, of athlete management, of fan psychology, of media dynamics. You need to know when to protect your stars and when to let controversy breathe. You need to understand that the product is not just the game, it's the story around the game. Engelbert treats the WNBA like a corporate portfolio. She talks about stakeholders and growth metrics and brand partnerships, and all that matters, but she doesn't seem to understand that the reason any of those things are improving is because of one player. And that player is being targeted physically and verbally by other players in the league. And instead of stopping it, Engelbert encouraged it. She told 60 Minutes that drama and rivalry were good for the league. She said it was helping ratings. You know what else helps ratings? Having your star player healthy and playing, not sidelined with injuries from uncalled fouls.
Some of the success before Caitlin Clark was simply on Cathy, but we cannot take away the success that Caitlin has brought to this game. And for Alyssa Thomas to only be suspended for one game and a $1,000 fine is simply rhetorical. And me personally, she should have been suspended, just like Christine Brennan said, for 10 plus games. Hands down. You cannot go out here and assault people on national television and expect to come back and act like nothing has happened, because that is simply what they're doing, acting like nothing has happened. But guys, I want to know y'all thoughts down in the comments section, and until next time, man, shake.
Here's the part that should actually bother you. The WNBA had a chance to do this right. When Caitlin Clark was drafted, everyone knew what was coming. The hype was unprecedented. The expectations were massive. The league could have built a protection system around her the way the NBA did with LeBron James when he entered the league as an 18-year-old. They could have made it clear that flagrant fouls would be punished harshly, that targeting the league's biggest star would result in serious consequences. They could have leaned into Caitlin Clark as the face of a new era and brought the other stars along with her. Instead, they let jealousy and resentment fester. They allowed veterans to take cheap shots. They let social media pile on. They watched as commentators questioned whether Caitlin Clark deserved her popularity, as if popularity is something you deserve rather than something you earn. And when it all came to a head with Alyssa Thomas putting a fist to Clark's throat in the playoffs, the league issued a $1,000 fine and moved on. That's not mismanagement. That's negligence.
The WNBA playoffs I covered in the finals in 2024 went on and on about all the things that had happened that year: record-breaking attendance,
Right.
TV viewership, moving to bigger arenas, all because of one person,
Caitlin Clark, baby.
That I think it was close to 20 minutes, 18, 19 minutes. Cathy Engelbert never said the words Caitlin Clark.
Go back and watch that 60 Minutes interview if you haven't seen it. John Wertheim asks Engelbert about Caitlin Clark's impact on the league. It's a straightforward question. The answer should be straightforward, too. Caitlin Clark has transformed this league. We're seeing growth we've never seen before. We're excited about what she represents for the future of women's basketball. Done. Easy. But that's not what Engelbert says. She pivots to Angel Reese. She talks about all the rookies. She spreads the credit so thin that it becomes meaningless. And Wertheim, to his credit, stops her. He says, I didn't ask about Angel. I asked about Caitlin. And even then, Engelbert can't do it. She can't give Caitlin Clark her due. Why? What is the political calculation happening behind the scenes that makes it impossible for the commissioner of the league to acknowledge the
setbacks that really, to me, a lot of it has not been on her. There's been a lot of assaults taking place on the basketball court. It's been a whole lot of sabotaging, not only by her head coach, but definitely by the league itself. Hell, they dropped the WNBA 30-year poster and left the Michael Jordan of the league off the poster. Many people can say what they want. Maya Moore posted up a picture of her with all her rings on. No disrespect to her. She kind of emulated the Jordan photo, but it didn't hit the same to me. You know, I believe Maya Moore is Caitlin Clark's favorite basketball player, if I'm not mistaken, on the women's side. But when it comes to her herself, she's the closest thing since Jordan. If you want to talk about the injuries, you want to talk about the impact of the game, without Caitlin Clark, none of us will be watching the WNBA. It's just that simple. No disrespect to any other players that came before her, but as of right now, we cannot take away the greatness that she has brought to the game of women's basketball.
The issue isn't new. It started in Clark's very first WNBA game. Kennedy Carter body-checked her away from the ball, a play so blatant that even casual fans knew it was dirty. The league did nothing. Then there was the flagrant foul from Carrington. Then another. Then another. By mid-season, Caitlin Clark was getting hit at a rate far higher than many other players in the league, and the referees were swallowing their whistles. Other players noticed. Some of them started talking about it publicly, saying the targeting was obvious, and still the league did nothing. The message to the rest of the WNBA was clear. Caitlin Clark is fair game. You can hit her, you can trash talk her, you can undermine her, and there will be no consequences. And some players took that message and ran with it. The Alyssa Thomas incident was just the most visible example, but it was part of a pattern that the league not only allowed, but seemed to encourage.
I've known Cathy for a while. I like her. She's a woman in a man's world. She ran Deloitte. We're a few years apart in age. I totally respect that as someone who had a lot of that, being the only woman in the press box or whatever. University of Miami, as you know, and other places, maybe one or two of us, and that was the only woman in the locker room, etc. So I respect her background and her leadership and this great resume that she has. I don't get this.
Brennan mentioned something important in that clip. She said she respects Cathy Engelbert's background and that she understands what it's like to be the only woman in the room, fighting for credibility in a male-dominated industry. And that respect makes Brennan's conclusion even more damning, because she's not coming at this from a place of bias or personal dislike. She's saying, as someone who understands the challenges Engelbert has faced, that Engelbert has still failed, that the paralysis, the refusal to act, and the inability to protect the league's most important asset all add up to a leadership crisis that can't be fixed by better PR or a new strategy. It requires new leadership. And when someone like Christine Brennan says that, people listen.
Just like I stated, it came with some loopholes, and the loopholes are being exposed each and every day by me, many other content creators, but the biggest person that has been on the front line with exposing everything that has been taking place in the WNBA is none other than USA Today reporter.
But just like I stated, it came with some loopholes. And the loopholes are being exposed each and every day by me, many other content creators. But the biggest person that has been on the front line with exposing everything that has been taking place in the WNBA is none other than USA Today reporter Chris. Let's talk about what happens next because this isn't going away. Caitlin Clark is about to enter her second season. The hype will be even bigger. The expectations will be higher. More fans will be watching. More media will be covering every game. And the pressure on the league to get this right will be enormous. If the same problems continue, if Caitlin Clark keeps getting targeted and the league keeps issuing weak penalties, the backlash will be louder. Sponsors will start asking questions. TV networks will start pushing for changes. And at some point, the people who actually control the WNBA, the NBA ownership group, will have to make a decision. Do they keep Cathy Engelbert and hope things improve? Or do they cut their losses and bring in someone who understands how to manage
at least 10 games? Shout out to Christine Brennan on an exceptional response to that question. Now, we cannot forget the infamous 60-minute interview where Cathy Engelbert deliberately said drama is what pretty much fill up the seats in these stadiums for the WNBA. She damn near said we need more drama. We cannot forget that 60.
At least 10 games. Shout out to Christine Brennan on an exceptional response to that question. Now, we cannot forget the infamous 60 Minutes interview, where Cathy Engelbert said that drama is a major factor in driving attention and filling seats around the league. Many critics point back to that interview, whenever discussions about league leadership come up. Here's the reality. The WNBA is at a crossroads. It can either capitalize on the Caitlin Clark era and build something sustainable, or it can squander this moment and go back to being a niche league that most people ignore. Right now, critics argue it's heading toward the second option because the leadership appears more concerned with managing egos and avoiding controversy than with protecting the player who helped bring unprecedented attention to the league. And that's a recipe for disaster. The Alyssa Thomas incident should have been a turning point. It should have been the moment where
just like Christine Brennan said, for 10 plus games, hands down. You cannot go out here and assault people on national television and expect to come back and act like nothing has happened, because that is simply what they're doing, acting like nothing has happened. But guys, I want to know y'all thoughts down in the comments section, and until next time, man, shake the day.
So here's the question you need to ask yourself. If you're a WNBA fan, if you care about the future of women's basketball, what do you do? Do you keep supporting a league that refuses to protect its biggest star? Do you keep watching games where the referees let cheap shots slide and the commissioner pretends not to notice? Or do you start demanding accountability? Because the only way this changes is if the pressure becomes impossible to ignore. Christine Brennan just added her voice to that pressure. The question is whether enough people will follow. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Cathy Engelbert should be replaced? And if so, who should take her place? Hit the like button if you think Christine Brennan is right. Subscribe if you want to see more coverage like this because this story is far from over.